you should know that these dealings between two parties are of three types. And whenever you do a dealing, you should know which of these three types you're getting involved in. There's a type of dealing called lazim. That means binding. That means you cannot get out of it. Once you finalize your contract, you cannot get out of it until the terms of the contract are fulfilled. And there's a type called ghayru lazim, non-binding. That means that at any time you can get out of the contract or the deal. At any time you can get out of the deal. And there's some deals that are binding from one side and non-binding from the other side. So you always have two sides in these deals, right? You and the person you're dealing with. Sometimes the deal you do is binding from both sides. Lazimun min jihatain. I can't get out of it and you can't get out of it. An example of that is renting or hiring, which are the same thing. Renting and hiring are the same thing. You can rent a man or hire a man. It's the same thing. Rent a car or hire a car. It's binding from both sides. I rent my house to you. You have to pay me. I have to let you live in the house for the time that we agreed on. I can't kick you out before that, and you can't bail out before that. I mean, you can not live there as long as you want, as long as you pay me. Still actually under your agreement, even if you didn't live there. But you can't bail out and say, listen, I don't want to live here anymore. If we agreed 6 months, $100 a month, 6 months, so we agreed to that. You owe me $600. I owe you 6 months of lodging in my apartment. After 3 months or any time before those 6 months, neither one of us can quit. This is binding. That's the same thing for hiring. Renting and hiring is the same. So I hire you for a job. I cannot fire you and you cannot quit. We're not going to talk about those now. All I really want to talk about is binding and non-binding. Sometimes the deal is non-binding. غير لازم من الجهتين, from both sides. Like an authorization. I can say to you, I authorize you to sell my car. And you can accept to do that. And at any time you can say, you take your car and go about your business. I don't want to have anything to do with you and your car. That's non-binding. And at any time I can say, don't do any deals for me concerning my car. So that's non-binding from both sides. And sometimes a deal is binding from one side and non-binding from the other side. Like collateral. Collateral. You say to me, yeah, Ra'id, let me borrow $5,000. $5,000? Subhanallah. Okay, I'll let you borrow $5,000, but I want collateral. So you put up your big screen TV or your car or whatever, you put it up for collateral, and I accept. I accept it as collateral. Now, you cannot, after that, say, oh, you know what? I don't want that to be collateral anymore. It's binding from your side. But I can say to you, you know what? Take your car, take your big screen TV, just pay me when you can, for example. So it's non-binding from my side. And there's other deals like that. So, chapter of dealings, mu'amalat. Whoever wants to sell or buy or marry or do something else in reference to the different contracts, then he must learn what makes them valid before engaging in them. Meaning, any type of deal you want to do or contract that you want to do, make sure you know three things always: the integrals of that deal, the conditions of that deal, and the invalidators of that deal, just like anything else. Three things: integrals, conditions, and invalidators. Those three things you always want to know for worships and deals. First of all, let's define selling. Religiously, selling is to exchange something with a monetary value for something else with a monetary value in a specific way. That's one way to define it. To exchange something with a monetary value for something else with a monetary value in a specific way. To say exchange something with a monetary value, right there you should understand that a sale does not require cash. To exchange something with a monetary value for something else with a monetary value. So I can sell you my hat for your shoes. This deal called a sale, bay', al-bay'. A sale has integrals and conditions, al-bay'. The integrals are three things: a contractor, a subject of the sale, and statements. A contractor, the subject of the sale, the subject of the deal or the contract, and a contract, the statements. Some scholars said that there's really six. And those six are these same three, but with details. Because each one of these three is really broken into two. So we said a contractor, a subject of the sale, and a statement. But each one of those three can be broken into two. The contractor is really two contractors, a seller and a buyer. They are actually integral parts of the sale, not conditions, integrals of the sale. The subject is an item and a price, an item and a price. And the statement is the offer and the acceptance, or the initiation, the initiating statement and the acceptance. Each one of these, let's just say three, the contractor, the item, and the statement, each one of these has conditions. As for the contractor, according to Ash-Shafi'i, this contractor, the seller or the buyer, has to be pubescent. So you cannot deal with, so whether a sale or otherwise, you cannot deal with a child who did not reach puberty. According to that. According to Imam Ahmad, it's enough for the contractor to have mental discerning, mental discrimination, tamyiz, and have permission from the guardian. To have mental discerning along with permission from the guardian to deal. So you definitely cannot do a deal with a child who didn't even reach mental discerning, like 4 or 5 years old, maybe 6 years old. So for example, you're an ice cream man and all the kids love you. You come around their neighborhood and then the little kid with a runny nose and he can barely talk, he comes to you with $1 or 50 cents or whatever. And he holds it up to you with big round eyes, and it basically means, give me anything. I will be happy. Take my money and give me anything. This is invalid. You cannot do a deal with this child. So tell him, go get your mom or go get your brother or something. And of course, you cannot do a deal with a crazy person. So you should be able to notice from here that according to what we just mentioned, how could you do a contract? How could you buy from a machine? How can you put your money in the machine and then pull the candy out? Where's the other contractor? Was that a sane, pubescent contractor that you just did that deal with? Or at least a child that has mental discrimination? No. So how do you get around that then? Yani, because I'm basically saying it's not valid to do a deal with a machine, right? Yes. So how do you get around that? You have some different ways. Now, if you want to follow Ash-Shafi'i, I don't know how you can do anything with the machine according to Ash-Shafi'i other than actually, let's say, for example, the store owner was there or someone who's authorized to sell was there. So you went to them and said, hey, look, you see this thing right here in this machine? I'm going to buy this from you. I'm going to put my money right here in the machine. See, here's my money here. I'm going to put my money in the machine here and buy this item. And he says, okay. All right, so then put your money in the machine, take the item, and go on your way. That's valid because you did the contract with a human being. Otherwise, according to Ash-Shafi'i, I don't know any way you can do that. Now, according to Abu Hanifa, you have some more wiggle room because according to Abu Hanifa, you can deal with the kuffar if you are in a kafir country the way they deal, with the condition that you as the Muslim are the winner in that deal and you get the profit, you get the benefit or the profit of the deal, and you're not the loser in the deal. You get the upper hand in the deal. That's a condition. For example, say you're in the kafir country and you want to catch the metro. Here in Philadelphia, we don't say metro, by the way. But getting to know you brothers and sisters from all over the world and different places, and it seems you all say metro. And when I say train, you think I'm talking about something like leaving the country or something. I don't know. So anyway, you want to go to the metro, mashallah. And if you put your money in the machine to get tokens or to get some type of credit or to get some type of card that they give you or whatever, it would cost less. But if you pay the cash to the person at the window, it would cost more. Here, you get the benefit. So since you're in the kafir country and you're dealing with kuffar, then you can deal the way they deal. And because you won, you got the benefit. So that brings me to say this. You need to be careful when you do a deal online with someone. You need to be, if he's a Muslim, you need to be mindful about that. Make sure that you're fulfilling all the integrals and conditions of the sale. If you're buying from a Muslim, if you're buying from a kafir and you're getting the benefit, then it's easier. You said if you purchased from a Muslim on Amazon, would that be dealing with a person or machine, i.e. the computer? If I don't answer that, inshallah, before we end, then remind me of the question, please. So you have a contractor. The contractor needs to be sane and pubescent according to Ash-Shafi'i, and at least having mental discrimination according to Ahmad. Also, the contractor has to either own what he's selling or have authorization to sell it. So you cannot sell what you do not own, you neither own nor have authorization to sell. For example, you find something on the street. You find a phone. Oh, snap. I can get a lot of money for this. You can't sell something that you don't own. You don't own it, nor do you have authorization from the owner to sell it. And finding it doesn't make it yours. If you lose something, it's still yours. So if somebody found something, it doesn't become theirs. So if there's any more conditions for the contractor, inshallah, we'll pick it up as we read. The item has to have a monetary value. So it's not valid to sell what does not have a monetary value. And the religion dictates whether a thing has a monetary value or not. And there are certain types of things that do not have a monetary value. There are certain types of things that, as a rule, they do not have monetary value, like najasa. Filth does not have a monetary value, so it is not valid to sell feces, such as horse manure. Although it's beneficial, it's useful, but it does not have a monetary value, and if it doesn't have a monetary value, you can't sell it. How can you sell something that doesn't have a value? That includes a dog. A dog is najis, isn't it? Yes, it is. So despite its benefit, because the dog has many benefits, you cannot sell it or buy it. So don't confuse not being able to sell it or buy it with not being able to acquire it. When we say you can't sell it or buy it, that does not mean you can't have it. You can't have it in your possession. Not being able to sell it or buy it doesn't mean it's contraband. Not being able to sell it or buy it means you can't do a contract on it. You cannot do a contract on it. But if someone had a dog, somebody came to you and said, hey, look, I got a Great Dane puppy here. You want one? You say, wow, Great Dane, sure. Who would ever thought? So you can take it, but you can't buy it. Same thing for the horse manure. So what if you wanted to buy something najis, yani, not buy it? What if you wanted to acquire something najis, something that's filthy, and someone has what you want to acquire, but they only want to sell it to you? They don't want to give it to you. So how do you get it? It's all in the words of the contract. Like, for example, you say, this guy, he sells horse manure by the crate, $20 a crate. Tell him, sell me the crate and give me the stuff inside for free. What do you want? $20? I'll give you $20. Sell me the crate for $20 with the manure inside of it. Just give me the manure inside of it. You're getting what you want. If he says, no, I want to sell you the manure, tell him, listen, I'm giving you what you want. You want $20 for this, right? Sell me the crate and give me the stuff inside for free. Take the $20. If he refuses, then he just refuses. Don't deal with him. Find another way, another person. Also, a thing, in order to have a monetary value, needs to have a religiously recognized benefit. A religiously recognized benefit. Why are we saying religiously recognized benefit? Because everything that Allah created has a benefit. But its benefit may not be strong enough to make it halal to do it. And its benefit may not make it valid to buy it. Like wine has benefits. Can't you drink wine and get warm? Or drink alcohol? Can't you drink liquor and get warm? Sure. If a person was in the snow and he had some liquor and he drank the liquor, it would warm him up. That's a benefit. Does that mean that it's halal because it has a benefit? La. So So a thing has to have a religiously recognized benefit to have a monetary value so that you can sell it or buy it. So through many examples, you can know many things that have a monetary value, and at least sometimes, if you're not sure, at least by learning, you would encounter an issue and say, hey, let me ask about that. That might not have a religiously recognized benefit. So for example, it's not valid to buy a lion or a tiger or a bear or a wolf because it has no benefit. What are you going to do with it? Sure, some kings, they would get a lion or a tiger and chain them up to the throne or chain them to the wall or something, just so people would have respect for the king. This is not a religiously recognized benefit. Someone might say, well, what about the zoo? That's a benefit, so can't we buy the animals for the zoo? The answer is no. You can acquire those animals some way, somehow, but the religion didn't deem the zoo enough to make buying these animals a religiously recognized benefit. You cannot buy roaches and flies and bed bugs and crickets. All that has no religiously recognized benefit. Someone might say, yeah, but I can buy those roaches and feed them to my pet scorpion. No, this is not a religiously recognized benefit. You can buy cats because they catch mice, fish because you can eat them. You can buy a leopard or a cheetah because you can train it to hunt. You can buy an ape because you can train it to guard. You can buy an elephant because you can ride it and you can carry loads on it and you can train it to fight. You can buy a leech because you can use it in medicine. You can buy a beehive with the bees as long as the queen is in the hive because they make honey. You can buy a horse, you can buy a donkey. You cannot buy wind instruments and string instruments because they don't have any religiously recognized benefit. You cannot buy wine because it's najis. You cannot buy a dog because it's najis. But they do have benefits. Also the wine, like you could pour it over a wound, can't you? If a person had a wound, couldn't he pour the alcohol over the wound to sterilize it? That's a benefit, but it's still not religiously recognized benefit. Now, in terms of the alcohol, what we learned is that there's a difference between ether alcohol, which is also called ethanol alcohol and also has other names, and an alcohol called isopropyl. You should know those words if you need to get some alcohol from the store. What we learned is that the isopropyl alcohol is not najis, so you can buy it and you can put it on your skin. And that the ether or ethanol alcohol is najis. It is the essence of the intoxicating drink. It is the essence of it. So you can't buy it. But again, you could, for example, buy the bottle and take the stuff inside for free if the person you're dealing with has authority to do that for you. Probably the teller at the checkout register does not have the authority to sell you the bottle and give you the stuff inside for free. Also, a condition for the item is that it is deliverable. It is deliverable. So if you cannot deliver the item, you cannot sell it. Like if your horse ran away and you have no idea where it is, so how are you going to sell it? You cannot deliver it. And it's a condition that you receive the item before you sell it. You can't sell it before you receive it. Meaning, for example, I sell you a phone. You say to me, hey, you know that phone you have? I'll buy it from you for $50. I say, okay, I sell you my phone for $50. I accept. So we just did a contract. Now I owe you a phone. The phone that we did the contract on. But I didn't give it to you yet. So you can't, before receiving it, go and say, hey, I got this great phone, man. I'll sell it to you for $70. You have to wait until you receive the item and then you can sell it. And then as for the statements, the initiating statement and the acceptance, it doesn't matter which side initiates. Whichever side initiates, then the other side has to accept. That's according to Ash-Shafi'i. According to other scholars, you don't have to have statements. So according to Imam Ash-Shafi'i, there needs to be an initiating statement such as, I sell you this, or buy this from me, or sell this to me, or I buy this from you. All of these are initiating statements, and then the other side has to say, I accept. And of course, the price has to be known. The item has to be known and the price has to be known. That's one of the conditions of the item and the price. It has to be known in the first place. It's not valid to say, I sell you what's in my pocket, and you have no idea what's in my pocket. Or like that show called Storage Wars. Isn't it the case that they just open up the storage, let you take a peek inside, you see basically what's apparent, but you don't get to look inside the boxes and the crates, you don't get to move things around to see what's behind other items, and then you would buy all of what's inside of that, bid on all of what's inside of that storage unit. That's invalid because you're buying something without knowing what it is. What I just gave to you was a good introduction because what's going to come now will take everything I just said and scatter it all around. So it won't be lined up the way I said it, but now it will be clear, inshallah. So the author said, it is a condition for the validity of selling that there would be a statement of selling from the seller, for example, by saying, I sell you such and such, for example, and a statement of buying, like I buy it from you for such and such amount, for example. The seller and the buyer are really the same thing. The difference is just the statement. What makes the seller and what makes the buyer is the statement. And besides that, they're actually the same. So if I go to the store to buy a head of cabbage, all right, they're selling me a head of cabbage for my money. Or in other words, it's like I'm selling them my money for the head of cabbage. But if we were to do statements, it wouldn't come out like that. It's because they're offering and I came to them to get it, so we're going to say they're selling it to me and I'm buying it from them. But in essence, it's the same thing from both sides. We're simply exchanging items. You're taking what I have, I'm taking what you have, now that's yours and this is mine. And it doesn't matter who initiates, like we said already. And it is a condition that the two contractors be pubescent, sane, without frozen assets, غَيْرَ مَحْجُورِينَ عَلَيْهِمَا, and choosing. They were not forced. So we explained the pubescent part, we explained the same part, and without frozen assets. What that means is it's a condition for the seller or the buyer, the contractor, to not be barred from using his own money. And we mean under religious rule. So if the Muslim judge barred the person from using his own money, he can't sell or buy with his own money for whatever reason. There's a chapter in the books of dealings for that. Then his deal is invalid. One known example for you is a child who didn't reach puberty, according to Ash-Shafi'i. What if that child had an inheritance? The child could be a millionaire, a billionaire, but he didn't reach puberty, according to Ash-Shafi'i, and he comes to you with his money. He says, look, man, I'll buy that little wad of bubble gum from you for $50. Here's a $50 bill for this piece of bubble gum. You cannot deal with this person until he reaches puberty, according to Ash-Shafi'i. His guardian can buy on his behalf. He cannot deal with his own money. So maybe we should change it from having a frozen asset, because saying frozen asset implies that the money itself cannot be spent. And it's not that the money can't be spent, but it's that the person can't spend his own money. The person cannot deal. That's the issue, actually. So that needs to be changed. But let's just say for now, without being barred from using his own money. Let me know if you got a word for that, inshallah. So, and it is a condition that the two transactors be pubescent sane and not barred from using their own money and choosing, meaning not forced. If the person was forced to sell, then the sale is invalid. If he was unrightfully forced. If he was unrightfully forced to sell, then the sale is invalid. He could be rightfully forced, like in some cases the Muslim judge might force him to sell something for whatever reason. So if he was unrightfully forced, then the sale is invalid. And when we say the sale is invalid, that means the possession was not exchanged. So whatever was apparently sold actually never left the possession, the ownership of the one who originally owned it. And whatever was taken as a price for that item never left the possession of the one who paid. Each one still owns his own item. And it is a condition that the item be deliverable. So it is not valid to sell something that has been extorted, taken by force. The owner has no power to retrieve it, and the buyer has no power to retrieve it or to receive it from the one who extorted it, to take it, without a big expense or effort. So if you had an item that was taken from you by force and now you cannot deliver it, it's still yours, but you can't get it. Since you can't get it, you cannot sell it because you can't deliver it. Unless you can sell it to someone who can take it. Then, if that one can take it without a big expense or effort, you can sell it to him. And that the item be owned by the contractor, seller or buyer, or for him to have power of attorney or authorization. Power of attorney means like the guardian of the child, or like the sponsor or the person that the judge appoints over someone. So he has power of attorney. Now he can act on someone's behalf. Let's say, for example, a person was insane and he has money. And he's crazy. He can't even say to you, oh, my parent, I authorize you to act on my behalf. So you're not even actually authorized, technically. Rather, you have power of attorney. You can just act on his behalf. So it's a condition that the item be owned by the contractor, whether that contractor was the seller or the buyer, or for him to have power of attorney or authorization. When we say authorization, meaning that the person actively authorized you. Therefore, it is not valid to sell what one does not own or has no authorization to sell. Like I gave you an example already. I'll give you another example. Where you're standing in a brother's store. He has a small, humble store. It's got chips and stuff like that. He needs to step away for a second and say, hey, can you just watch my store real quick? I need to step away. And he did not authorize you to sell anything. Then someone came in and said, hey, how much are these chips? You say, no, those chips, I think those chips are like 50 cents. He says, okay, here's 50 cents. He puts the 50 cents on the counter. What you should do is say, hey, hold on a second. Actually, I don't work here. I'm not authorized to sell anything to you. So you need to wait for the boss to come back or wait for the owner to come back. You cannot say, okay, yeah, just leave your money there and go ahead and take it. I'll let him know when he gets back. You're not authorized to sell. So that sale is invalid. And it is a condition that the subject of the contract is known to both contractors. So it is neither valid to sell one of the two shirts without specifying which one, nor to sell what has not been seen or to buy it. All right. So it's not valid to say to a person, I'll sell you one of these two cars. I'll sell you one of these two shirts. You have to specify which one. You might encounter something like that. You go up and the person says to you, I'll sell you any one of those, 50 cents. I'll sell you any one. So for the sale to be valid, because he didn't specify, you then say, okay, I buy this one for the price that you want. Then it's valid. Let him agree to it and then it's valid. So it is neither valid to sell one of the two shirts without specifying which one, nor to sell what has not been seen or to buy it. Okay. According to Imam Ash-Shafi'i, it is not valid to buy a specific item that you have not seen. According to Imam Ash-Shafi'i, it is not valid to buy a specific item that you have not seen. It is not easy to practice this point according to Ash-Shafi'i. However, knowing this case and understanding it is very beneficial for when you do dealings. According to Ash-Shafi'i, you cannot buy a specific item that you have not seen. So according to that, then most of your canned goods, your canned drinks, all your packaged foods, all of those things, according to Ash-Shafi'i, most of the stuff that you buy is probably wrapped up or contained in something. It is invalid. You cannot buy a specific item that you have not seen. So it means that according to this saying, if you want to follow this saying, go to the supermarket with a can opener, so that you can open up all your cans of tuna and open up all your vegetables, all your canned goods, so that you can look at what's inside the container. You need to see it. You want to buy that specific item? You came with this can of tuna fish. What do you want? You want the can or you want the stuff inside of it? You want that stuff inside of it. So you want to buy that specific amount of tuna fish that's inside that can? According to Ash-Shafi'i, then you need to see it. So that would mean you need to open up the can and look at it before you depart from the person who's selling it to you. Before you walk away from each other, or one of you walks away from the other. So obviously that's not an easy task to do consistently always in the world that we live in. But we're not finished with that yet. Yani, we're not yet ready to talk about what's contrary to this saying. Let's finish and complete talking about this case. Because obviously, also, you cannot always see an item, right? So is there a way in the Shafi'i school? There is a way. Which is what? When can you buy something without seeing it? According to the Shafi'is, what you can buy without seeing is a described item. Not a specific item, a described item. Meaning, it's valid for me to say, I sell you my bag, my black bag that has, this size, is made of this material, has this many compartments, and etc., etc. I sell you a car, not the car. I cannot specify it. I sell you a car. Did I say my bag? I certainly did say my bag. That's not valid, because once I said my bag, that made it specific. A bag. I can sell you a bag that you haven't seen that has such and such descriptions. I can sell you a car that has this color, this year, this make, this model, this interior, etc., etc. It has to be described clearly so that you are not ignorant about the item. So I describe the item to you. So now it's valid for you to say, okay, I'll buy an item like that. An item means it's not a specific item you're buying. I'll buy an item with this description from you, and you pay me. Now that you've paid me, I've given you a perfect description of the item in such a way that you are not ignorant of this item. And you paid me. You accepted something with this description. Now I can go and get anything that fits that description and deliver it to you. And when I deliver it to you, you're going to see it. But you paid for it before you saw it. So, of course, in the end, you're always going to wind up seeing what you bought, right? Yeah, most of the time, usually, you're going to wind up seeing it. But in this case, it was valid for you to pay me to do this contract on something that you haven't seen. Why? Because it was not a specific thing. What made the difference? How come it can't be a specific thing and it has to be only a described such thing? Because if I said to you, I sell you my horse that has this description and that description, and then you said, I accept to buy that horse, so we have just done a contract on a very specific item, and you never saw that item. And then I went to come and deliver it to you, and before I got it to you, it died. Now what am I going to do? Whereas had we done the deal on a described item and you paid me and then I went to go get what fits that description, and on the way to you, it was ruined. It died or it broke, it was destroyed, it was stolen, whatever. So what do? I just go and get another one, right? I get something else that also fits that description. So that's why it's valid for you to buy a described item that you haven't seen. And according to Ash-Shafi'i, you cannot buy a specific item that you haven't seen. When you're doing online deals, you need to buy described items. If you want to follow this way of Ash-Shafi'i, buy a described item, not a specific one. So if someone says to you, according to this saying, online, I sell this bike of mine, a specific item that you never saw in person, then it's not valid. But what could you do? All you need to do is just adjust the words of the contract. Contact that person. Hey, you're the guy who has a bike with such and such descriptions for sale? He might say, yes, I have my bike with such and such descriptions. So say to him, so listen, I want to buy a bike from you with such and such descriptions. Do you accept for this price? He says, yes. Tell him, okay, khalas, I accept, that's it. All right, you just did the valid contract. Let me give you the other side, other than Shafi'i's saying. According to some imams, you can buy a specific item that you haven't seen with the condition that it was described very well, and with the condition that you can revoke the sale, you can break the sale if the descriptions are not met. So someone says, I sell cans of tuna fish. No refunds at all, whatsoever. So in this case, he's telling you right now, if you leave my store, I will never take this item back. Then according to that, then you have to see it first before you go. So those who said that you can buy a specific item that you haven't seen said that it's a condition that you can revoke the sale if the description is not met. He sold you cans, you opened it up and you found out you had a can of dog food, not a can of tuna fish. So what you going to do? You got to take it back. Say this is not what was described. There was a question about buying something on Amazon. What was that question? Let's see. If the person sees something online and then all he does is click some boxes, put his information in, and then after some time it's delivered to his home, then he did not do a deal with a person. So he needs to actually contact that Muslim. Say, hey, how you doing? Yeah, you're the seller of such and such. I want to buy from you such and such and such and such for such and such price. Sell me such and such for such and such price. And then he says, okay, I accept. Then he did contract. That's clear?